Christy
Okay.
Martin, thank you very much for coming on to theboxingbar.com and welcome.
Thanks for having me. I really appreciate taking the time, here at the start of the new year to get it all kicked off right.
That's right. And first of all, first question I ask everybody, where were you born and raised?
I was born and raised in a small town in southern West Virginia called Itman, West Virginia.
What was it like being raised there?
500. I am truly the coal miner's daughter. There's probably about maybe 1,000 people in that little town, and everybody knows everybody. All my family's there, so it was definitely being raised by a village. Again, everybody knowing everybody, so you didn't get away with much. If you did something wrong, somebody was going to tell your mom and dad before you got home.
And what were you like as a kid growing up? What was your personality like? Were you quiet, shy? What were you like?
I really think I'm very shy. I think that's probably what people don't know about me, but very, very shy. I think I was like a reserved person, but yet I tried to excel in my schoolwork and in sports. I always played sports. There was really nothing else to do, and so I always wanted to be a high achiever.
What was it like at home with your parents, and if you have siblings, what was it like?
I think with my parents, both my mom would come out and shoot basketball with me. My dad would play basketball with me. We were all about being outside, playing sports, just kind of always just being a family. It was my family was very close, and not just my parents, but my mom and my aunts and uncles would be there. We were all always together.
And what were you like in school? What were your grades? I mean, were you a pretty good student?
Yeah, I was a good student. I wanted to make an A, but I wanted to make the highest A. I didn't, just making an A wasn't good enough. I wanted to make the highest. I wanted to be the best. So I was always striving to accomplish more and probably achieve more than I was really supposed to.
Would you say you were a perfectionist?
I think I was a perfectionist and an overachiever.
And how was it that you got into this great sport of boxing? I mean, of all things, you didn't hear about that too much. Women being in contact sports. How was it that you got into this great sport?
We have to remember it was back in 1989 when I first entered into a tough man contest. Actually, I turned pro in 1989, so it was even before that I entered into a tough man, tough woman contest. And I just was in college, and I thought, what an opportunity! I'm in pretty good shape because I played basketball. I thought I was in good shape. I didn't realize that there's a much bigger difference in being in boxing shape and being in basketball shape. But I thought, what the heck, let me go for it. And, I just got hooked. I got hooked on the sport. I love the adrenaline rush that comes along with being out there in front of everybody and scoring a knockout. It was awesome. So I just wanted to stay involved some way.
And I don't know if there was a boxing gym over there, but how was it the first time you walked into the gym to prepare yourself to do something like this? I mean, what was that first experience like, if you can remember that?
You know what? I had all those tough-man fights, and then I had about 6 pro fights before I had ever been in a boxing gym. So, of course, the first day I went into the gym, it was like, you're in one of those places that, wow, there's no women in here, and we're not used to having a woman in here. We don't want a woman in here. So a lot of those stereotypes that I had to break down and just show everybody that I just want to be a fighter, and I'm willing to work as hard or harder than you are. So I should be given that right to at least give it a chance.
And you said, you got those looks, and you probably got some heat from some of the guys there at the gym. What attracted you to it, or why did you keep going back, having everybody look at you funny?
Because I'm one of those people that if you tell me I can't do something, I'm going to do it or die. And that's a good thing, but, of course, it's also gotten me in trouble in some situations. But I just wanted to prove to everybody that, hey, this may not be the norm, but I can do it. And I'm going to work hard enough to perfect my craft and go out there and show the world that hey, look, I can be a good fighter, not a good woman fighter. I can be a good fighter.
It's hard. I talk to women fighters all the time, and it's even hard for them to find sparring even today. So back then I couldn't even imagine. And because of that, a lot of times, like you said, you have to train with men. You have to fight with men in sparring and whatnot. Were those obstacles, did that ever throw you off, or you said, you know what, maybe I should do something else instead of this? Or did you know this is what you wanted?
Actually, when I started, I thought I'll do it for 6 months. I had my degree in education, and I thought, I'll do this boxing for 6 months, and I'll go to the real world, and get my job and just do what people do that work, teaching school. but in the interim, I was just so hooked on boxing, and I wanted to make it work. You know, I was fortunate. I had some good guys with me throughout my career. Little Jimmy Maloney sparred with me for over 20 years, and we have a joke that you know, on my 50th birthday, which will be soon, we're going to spar. So hopefully we'll be able to do that. And you know, I was just fortunate. I had good guys around me that worked with me, that trained with me, that pushed me and wanted to see me succeed.
And I know it was real important, not really too important today, but it was really important back then to have a great amateur, you know, background or career. Did you have any kind of amateur background going into before you became a pro, let's say?
Actually, women were not allowed to fight in the amateurs during my time. I was already pro and signed with Don King before women were allowed to fight in the amateurs. So, you know, that telling my age, but at the same time, it's showing that women have such greater opportunities now in the boxing world. You know, they can go fight in the Olympics and fight for your country. I think that has to be the most awesome feeling. And you can take the time to really learn the craft, and women are going to start earlier in the gym and really perfect. So the skill set should be much better than what it was, you know, 20 years ago when I was coming up.
Yeah, building a better foundation, that's what it's all about.
Absolutely. I mean, their skills should be, they should have a strong skill set. They should have a better understanding of the business, of the sport, and it just gives them time to grow in the sport and mature.
What did your family, your loved ones, your friends, you know, think of you, you know, of all things wanting to be a fighter? Did you get a lot of, you know, slack from them? Did they try to discourage you from doing that? How did that go?
With my family, it was just, my dad just really insisted that if this is what you're going to do, you need to be in shape and you need to learn how to fight and defend yourself. My mom, being, you know, she's just a supportive mother. She doesn't think that I get hit. She always thinks I win, and you know, she's just supportive. She's a great cheerleader. No matter if it was playing basketball, boxing, or whatever I may be doing, she was always there to give her support.
A coal miner's daughter, I think, is pretty much self-explanatory, your nickname. But, I mean, is that exactly how it went? They just named you that because of your father, or?
Yeah, Jimmy Lennon Jr. was trying to come up with a nickname for me before one fight, and I told him, I said, well, I don't want to be something that you have to live up to, like the knockout or this or that. I don't want to be something like that. I just want to be something that is true to me. And he came up with the coal miner's daughter, and I was like, oh, that's awesome. And then later on, I was able to meet Loretta Lynn and kind of get her blessing to use the coal miner's daughter. So that was a great moment in my career to get to sit with her and, you know, talk about her career some, and then to find out that she's somewhat of a fight fan. So it was pretty awesome.
Lennon Jr.'s father, Senior, was notorious for making up nicknames right before he'd call out their names. When did you feel it was time to go all out and become a pro? I mean, was there an obstacle to that? How did that go?
The truth is, I thought I will just have one pro fight just to say I did it, and you know, I can tell everybody later on in life that, hey, guess what, I did once I had a pro fight. But my first pro fight was a draw, and I didn't understand the business. I didn't understand that when a promoter calls you to come fight his girl, that means you're going to lose unless you knock her out. So I did knock her down and kicked her butt for every round, and still it was a draw. So they asked me would I come back and fight her the next month, and at first I was kind of like, no, not really. I did my one and I'm done. And then I thought, no, I didn't win, I didn't lose. Let me go do another one. And I knocked her out, and that was it. I was hooked. That was just the final straw. I just couldn't walk away from the sport at that time.
After your first pro fight, you know, you got this draw that you're speaking of. A few fights up, you get your first loss. It seems like now today, when a fighter gets his first loss, it seems like they're just discouraged. They go hide under a rock for about a year or so, and they try to, you know, come up again, and sometimes they just can't. Back then, it was different. Back then, it was kind of like breaking a nail. You're not going to stop because you broke your nail. Do you see those differences in fighters of then and fighters of today?
Absolutely. I mean, the guys of like in the 70s when we had all those great heavyweights, you know, Hagler, Hearns, Leonard, and then, you know, Ali, Norton, Frazier, all those great guys. I mean, they just fought each other. I mean, so what? This one beat you, Duran, you know, he beats Leonard, so we're going to fight again, or I'm going to go fight, you know, Hearns. It doesn't matter. Everybody's fighting everybody. And Today, it's like if you get one loss, then your career is over, and no one wants to take those tough fights simply because of that. But the fighters would be better fighters if they would fight each other. The top fighters need to fight the top fighters, so that makes them better, but it gives the fans a better product, and I think that's what's hurt boxing. We're just in one of those cycles where there's just not big names. Even in the 90s, we had De La Hoya fighting Trinidad. Chavez was still out there fighting. So we just don't have the names that want to fight each other and to keep boxing really alive in everybody's thoughts and minds.
Very true. And you're beginning a team, let's say everybody, your trainer and whatnot, were they the same team that you had all the way down the line to, let's say when you started making these TV fights? Was it the same team, or did you guys change trainers as time went?
Yeah, actually, those first fights I had where I really wasn't in a gym, I just picked somebody up at the fight to work my corner, and then Jim became my trainer, and he trained me throughout most of my career. Miguel Diaz finished up with me for the last couple fights, but Miguel was always in my corner. From 1996 on, he worked my corner as a cut man, so I was very comfortable, and I really, looking back on it, wish I would have came to Vegas and let Miguel train me from the beginning of my career, especially from the Don King time, because that's when everybody really was watching and had that point that I could have really improved my skills by being in a gym where there were other champions training and sparring, and I could have just learned so much more, and I think I could have been a much more complete and better fighter.
Now I'm trying to imagine some of these your entrances going into your early fights, from '89 to when you started making it on TV. How the reaction of the fans would have been. Did you get those crazy looks or the crazy silence? When you'd be coming out to the ring, and was that intimidating to you?
I really didn't pay any attention to what was going on in the crowd because I was so focused on the fight. But I do remember, like in the early 90s, I fought on a show over in Punta Gorda, Florida, and Jackie Callan was there, and she was trying to sign me at the time, and she had it all orchestrated that after the fight, the guys were throwing roses into the ring at me or to me, and actually, people were more supportive than I think I could ever have dreamed, because they had never seen a woman that could go out there and knock somebody out or just have the skills that I had.
Here in my city of Oxnard, there was a great female martial artist and boxer. Her name was Graciela Casillas, who fought in the first women fight card back in 1977 in L.A. And I remember her telling me when I brought her on, she said it was hard. Certain states wouldn't license her to box. Did you have such obstacles during your time?
Because of fighters such as her, most of these states, I didn't have a problem with the states, but I was supposed to fight on the undercard of Chavez and Gonzalez in Mexico City, and Mexico City would not license women to fight. So that fight was postponed. Other than that, most of the commissions were very accepting, and they were willing to give me the opportunity. Had I failed or maybe not put on a good performance, then it may have been a little different. But at the time, Mark Ratner was the commissioner out in Las Vegas or in Nevada, and it always was smooth out there. Back over in New York, it was great. So I had good support. I think everybody was willing to give me an opportunity to see what I had.
And once your talent couldn't be denied, Don King obviously rolled the dice big by giving a woman fighter a chance on televised pay-per-view. What was your initial reaction when he told you, hey, I'm going to give you this chance and, do this? What were your thoughts, your initial thoughts on that?
Well, just signing with Don King was like a dream come true. I mean, I'm from such a small town in West Virginia, and then to be sitting across the table from Don King was very intimidating. But I, like most of the fighters, I paid my dues. I fought on his smaller shows. I was fortunate. I was always on King Vision, which was seen internationally. But I had to pay my dues and prove to him and the people in his staff that I could fight and I would be entertaining to the crowd. So I signed with King in '92, I think. I fought for a couple years, and then I got on Showtime. I just paid my dues and progressed through the ranks. And finally, because of Mike Tyson, really, he was very supportive. I was able to fight on the undercard of Tyson and Bruno.
Well, the gamble obviously worked there with Don King, rolling the dice with you, and it showed by you even, coming out on the cover of Sports Illustrated. You were to everybody women's boxing. How did that make you feel?
Wow. It's overwhelming because I am very shy. I'm not arrogant and cocky. I think some people took me as that because I was so shy and I didn't talk a lot. It's just hard to believe. I mean, I still don't believe it. People ask me to sign the cover of Sports Illustrated, and they're like, "Aren't you tired of signing these?" And I just look at them and laugh, and I tell them, "Are you kidding me? I will sign these all day long." My boxing ride was unbelievable. I mean, I could have never ever dreamed of doing all the things that I did with boxing, and still doing. I mean, I'm still very close with the WBC. I work with the WBC Cares. We're doing domestic violence awareness, and I've started my own promotional company. So I have a lot to still do in boxing.
Looking back at all that, how do you think you handled the pressure? Was it a hard thing? Was it an easy thing? Was it just whatever? What was it like, handling that pressure of being the face of women's boxing?
I really never looked at it like I was the face of women's boxing. I just wanted to be a fighter, and I just wanted to fit in to the fight game and kind of find my niche, and I was happy with that. I didn't I felt very, very accomplished at what I did, and that I was comfortable with where I was, and I realized that I wasn't going to be a big fish in a big pond, but I was okay to go out there and be a little fish in a big pond and swim around with those guys, Mike Tyson, Evander Holyfield, Chavez Senior, Trinidad. I fight on those cards. I haven't fought on the card with Tommy Hearns, fought on the shows with Duran. So, I mean, I got to fight with some living legends, and that is, to me, is just the cherry on top. It really tops off my career.
That's awesome. And I remember ordering the pay-per-view card when you fought Mia St. John the first time. She trained here in Oxnard, and also one of my friends, Arturo Barraza, fought on the televised undercard on that night. What was that first pay-per-view like for you? Was it the first time you were a pay-per-view main event?
Yeah, I think so. When I fought Mia, that was the first time, and it was a full promotion. The promoter had really never promoted before, and yeah, it was a headache. But it was a great opportunity to get in the ring with Mia, and I know she was training hard, and Robert Garcia was training her at the time, so it was all good, and I got the win, so that was really all that mattered at the end of the day.
Did you think of her as a tough opponent, or what was that fight like for you?
No, unfortunately, I probably didn't give her the respect that I should have, and the fight was off and on again, so many times. I wasn't really in great shape, but no excuses. I fought her and pulled out a victory that time. So Mia was tougher than people gave her credit for, and I think that I think she fought her best when she fought me because she really wanted to prove that to people that she was tougher than what people gave her credit for.
That next fight up, you fight Layla Ali, the daughter of the legend, Muhammad Ali. Going into that fight, what were your reactions just getting that fight overall? I mean, she was a lot taller than you and had those physical advantages over you, or did you see that as an advantage for her, for you?
I thought that her size would work against her. I thought I would be able to stay low, and I really expected that she would come out and try to jab me. I didn't expect for her to come out and jump on me as fast as she did. She was able to land a good right hand on top of my head, and that was early, like 20, 30 seconds into the fight, and I was really never able to recover from it. So, but the whole fight, was a lot of dislike, and I'm 50 years old now. All those hard feelings and stuff are set aside for most everybody except Lucia Riker, and I don't think I'll ever get over the whole Lucia stuff. But the other opponents I had, win, lose, or draw, I don't hold any animosity against them, and I feel like that what we did together was just laying the groundwork for what these women can do today.
Maybe a few months back, I was watching an old interview with Stephen A. Smith on ESPN, and he had Layla Ali on. It was like an old interview from maybe 07, 08. I think he asked her, how did she become a boxer? She said the reason why was because one day I happened to be watching an undercard on a pay-per-view, and Christy Martin fought, and she goes, that took all my attention. I don't even remember who the main event was because I just saw that and wanted to do that. I remember a boxing insider I talked to one time. I asked him if he watches women's boxing, and he said, unless Christy Martin's still a fighter, I could have named one fighter. When you hear stuff like that, and people, like I said, see you as women's boxing, what does that do for you, personally or emotionally? How does that affect you?
It makes me proud that people remember that I was a fighter, and I tried to go out there and fight so hard and bring action from bell to bell, just every round. I always felt like everybody was looking for me to make a mistake. Everybody outside the ring was looking for me to make a mistake. So I tried so hard to be focused and just to put on a good show and show a lot of action, a lot of entertainment, so that the fight fans would leave saying, wow, that was a good fight. Not that was a good woman fight, that was a good fight. We want to see Christy fight again.
I'm trying to remember what female fighter was, but it was a top female fighter. And I remember we were talking about boxing, and I asked her, why isn't women's boxing where it should be? And she said something kind of negative. It's us women fighters that sometimes when we become big, we kind of hurt ourselves. She said back in the day, if Christy Martin and Lucia Riker would have got it on like they should have, it would have brought a big light to the sport, and it was robbed of it. Then Layla Ali and Ann Wolf and so on. What do you think of that, and do you agree with that?
Well, I mean, I'm sure that it wouldn't have hurt women's boxing had Lucia stepped up and fought me, and the same with Layla and Ann Wolf. But, people have to understand, well, I had signed a contract to fight Lucia, but what people have to understand is sometimes it's out of the fighter's hands. Yeah, I could want to fight Lucia as much. I probably would still fight her tomorrow. But, there's so many other people involved, managers, promoters, trainers, networks. So just because fighters want it, and that's what should happen, sometimes it's out of our hands. So, I guess we have to take part of the negativity, but at the same time, in that particular instance with Lucia, I wanted the fight, and was about 7 days from the fight when Lucia pulled out. So, of course, she robbed me from $1 million. There's no way I was going to walk away from that.
And what was her reason, or her people's reason, for them pulling out?
They said that she had a ruptured Achilles tendon, but they also said she walked out of the gym. So anybody that I know, they have never been able to walk out of any place with a ruptured Achilles tendon.
A few fights up after you fight Layla Ali, you fought Holly Holm, and she made some big noise in the MMA world a while back when she beat Ronda Rousey. What did you think of Holly Holm as a fighter?
Well, this is what I know. As it got close to the fight with her and Ronda Rousey, I was like, there's no way Ronda can beat her, because I don't watch the UFC stuff, but I see enough of the highlights, and I was like, Ronda Rousey kind of fights like I do, straightforward. We want to get knockouts. We want to, create the action. And Holly Holmes was not going to let that happen. She's a mover, a boxer. She can't punch at all. So I was surprised at how she was able to dictate the pace of the fight with her hands before knocking her out with a kick. But Holly Holmes is a tough style. She's a tall left-hander, so it's a challenge. She's always going to be a challenge, but she made her name. She made it was a 15 minutes of fame, flash in the pan, and she's probably on to something else by now.
And in 2012, you made your last fight against Mia St. John, who you had previously fought. What was that fight like?
Yeah, it was a fight that I never should have taken. I had, in the fight prior to that, I had broken my hand in like 9 places, and when they put me to sleep to fix my hand, I had a stroke. So, I should have never taken the fight. But at the same time, as the stroke was going on here, I'm making excuses, and I don't really want to do that. But the trial was ending for, Jim was being sentenced to 25 years in prison, and it just wasn't the right time. I should have never taken the fight. But Mia came. She came prepared. I didn't, and that just shows that sometimes it's about conditioning. It's not always about the best skill.
Why did you stop fighting? I mean, you still had a name and all that. Was there physical, emotional reasons why you stopped your reign as a top name in women's boxing? Why did you retire?
I retired because I can't pass medicals for any state, and the way that I was able to fight the fight that I did was because my medicals from the previous fight were still on file. So I didn't have to have a new brain scan. I didn't have to have anything. I was able to keep the stroke a secret, and now you have to have the MRI or a CAT scan or something every year, I think, especially if you're over 40. So, I can't get a license anywhere.
What was it, in 2010, when there was an attempted murder on you by your ex-husband? How much of a toll did that take on you, and are you still suffering from the effects of that? Obviously, mostly you are, but physically, have you recovered from that 100%?
Physically, I was over it quickly. Mentally, emotionally, I still have some PTSD that I deal with, but I'm getting stronger each and every day, and I try to put on myself that we're in a new year, 2017, and that should be nothing but positive for me. I have lots of good stuff happening. A feature film will start production this year about my life story, through the boxing, through the domestic violence, through everything that's happened. So that's exciting. Working with George Diaz on a book. So I have a lot of exciting things, along with my own promotions that I'm doing here in Charlotte. A lot of positive stuff. So I'm trying to put the past behind me and just look forward.
You work against domestic violence. We have a local fighter here named Maureen Shea that also does the same. Ronda Rousey, I heard there was a lot of domestic problems around her. What is it you think with women fighters and in contact sports and domestic violence? You would think they'd be the last ones anyone would want put their hands on. Why do you think that is?
I'm not sure why that is, but with Maureen Shea, I'm working with her actually with the WBC. We're working on domestic violence, so I'm excited about that. But I guess it's because we are in the fight game, we're in the fight business, so we're probably, I don't know, maybe we're closer to people that are also in the fight game, and that's, there's more domestic violence. I don't know. There's just athletes everywhere are committing these horrific domestic violence crimes, but it happens in everyday walk of life. It's just more emphasized and publicized when it's an athlete that we see on TV every week. So it's just hard to say. It's hard to say. I think domestic violence is more prevalent in our society than anyone knows.
I agree, and it's a horrible thing, and I commend you guys for working on this cause. What do you think of women boxing today? When you watch or hear about it, obviously, I'm sure you still keep an eye on it, at least here and there. What do you think of it?
Unfortunately, women's boxing is declined so much, even though it's in the Olympics now. In other countries besides the United States, now that we have main event women fighters in Mexico. Katie Taylor over in Ireland is getting huge success with the entire country. There, everybody loves her. But here in the United States, we had Clarissa Shields with 2 gold medals, and she made her pro debut without much fanfare. So women's boxing is really in the downslide, and needs somebody with the personality, with the charisma, a promoter, like Don King, that was willing to stand behind me and give me great opportunities, talk me up, and really promote my fight. So we need somebody that will do that for a new, young, up-and-coming fighter.
So much research has been done on the effects of any athlete that are in contact sports. They have these long-term effects that hit them later on in life. What do you think of that, and do you feel any of that today?
I'm actually in a brain study with Cleveland Clinic in Vegas, and so far I'm doing okay. I think obviously I have some side effects and some effects from the stroke, but as far as boxing goes, I feel okay, and I think it's just important that we start to realize that, look, if somebody gets knocked out on Saturday night, they don't need to be back in the gym sparring on Wednesday. You need to take more time off, and we just need to have smarter training methods. The trainers have to be a little more caring, more wise about the fighters. They can't just keep throwing them in there like they're animals.
Looking back at your career, is there anything that you would change to have made your career better, looking back?
The only thing I'd say about my career really is when the Riker fight fell through in 2005, I should have retired at that time, because I think with that falling out, it took a part of me. It took a part of me. I was never able to get back in the conditioning I was in for that fight had it happened. I was never able to get back to the same fire. The personal turmoil was really starting to get to me, so I wish I would have retired in '05. That's the only thing I would change.
You know, I've always believed in people breaking walls down and making a difference in life or in their career or whatnot. And you did just that for women's boxing, and you're a real pioneer and a true warrior and a true legend, Christy. And I appreciate your time, and thank you very much for coming on to theboxingbar.com. And it was an honor to finally get you on and have you tell us a little bit about what it was like to be the woman fighter of your time.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, and best to you and everything, all your ventures in your career. Thank you.
Thank you.